Hello, hello. Welcome to A Bold and Distant Future. I'm joined today by one of our favorite old timers, Eddie. How you doing, Eddie?
I'm doing pretty good, but I'm not that old of an
No, I'm
old
not
timer.
calling you an old timer. What I mean is you've been coming around here more frequently and you've been here
Got it.
for a long time, Eddie. We're all old timers.
No kidding, huh?
Ah, so yeah, I'm devoting 20 minutes a week to the news on this program, A Bold and Distant Future, and it's allowed me to do some other things. I was kind of getting overwhelmed and trying to follow the news too closely, but now I just whatever flies across my screen that makes me interested. And the one thing I'm interested in lately is the fact that the Dodgers wouldn't allow this woman to sing the national anthem in Spanish. Did you hear about that?
She did it anyway.
And she did it anyway. And now San Diego Padres put up their Spanish version of the national anthem. And
Rock on.
I'm thinking of riding the Giants. They should do it too. But that version of the national anthem was written in 1945. It was translated into Spanish by under the direction of FDR.
Wow.
It's not something new, and there are multiple languages that the anthem has been translated into. So I'm thinking we should do it in a different language every night.
Maybe Turkish.
Don't know
Okay.
if there's been a Turkish version yet, but there could have been. But I know there was like some were translated into Navajo.
That would be cool.
There was one into Gaelic. All different ones. Anyway, we'll see how that flies out. But it's an interesting thing, that kind of singing and public art and how it's politicized, I guess, is interesting to me. But
There's there's a word we could use for so much today. Politicized.
yes, I guess asking questions is politicized these days. This was last week that we missed.
Yeah.
Alex Padilla was dragged out out of a press conference, but it says here by Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem didn't drag him out. Some of her thugs did.
The interesting thing is some of her thugs escorted him in, so they knew who he was.
Yeah, it could be a PR event for both sides. Shut down
Yeah,
the woke mob. You're calling a senator a woke mob.
you bet.
And then we're using it on our side to show that the suppression of freedom of speech. What I saw him complaining about, if you listen to the very first things he says, he's making an exception to this horrible slideshow she has going on, showing pictures of different people who are rounded up at the raids. And one of the guys rounded up at the raids did have a prison sentence and served his time, and then I believe was out. And they rounded him up. Anyway, it's a very complicated thing. I'd really love to hear Alex Padilla tell us exactly why he was going in there. I haven't actually seen any interviews of him since, but
There have been several articles posted. I didn't go through them.
yeah, it's just another thing to point our finger at to say, look, this is the way it's rolling out, people. But their side doesn't care. So
The interesting thing to consider is that this could go both ways, and if that's how they want it to roll, would it roll the other way? I.e., would the Democrats do this kind of disrespectful treatment of a Republican senator?
it would be in our right to do that. It would seem like it, but aren't we the level-headed ones? Don't they count on us being the ones that are
Yeah,
more moderate,
they
more
kind of do,
level-headed,
don't they?
kinder people?
More compassionate.
Yeah. Boy, I can't remember the name. The No Kings marches last weekend. You know, some people are like, oh, I can't go to a march, it's too much trouble. But I found it so empowering and so motivating going out and being with other people that are just as angry as I am, just as upset, you know.
Anger, focused in the right direction can be powerful. Focused in the wrong direction, it can just feed the flames. The interesting thing that happened to us, I don't know if I told you this already. We went without a sign because Anna was just coming out of a bout of COVID and we didn't know if she was going to be able to do it.
Mm.
And we didn't make a sign, but as we walked up from the coordinates that they gave us, here's a huge sign that said honk for compassion. So we picked it up and used it. It was just laying on the side, propped up against some kind of sign, you know, road sign.
Well, that's the message. I mean, my sign was very nonviolent and not aggressive. I'm just trying to be a respectable citizen,
Yeah.
you know, out there protesting respectfully. I don't even like to shout and do those shouts they sometimes do. Well, Trump had his parade.
Yes,
And
indeed.
It was kind of sad from the pictures I saw. I haven't really done a deep dive into watching it on some of those channels that show everything uncut. I don't know if I even want to.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
But those images of the squeaky tank going by were hysterical.
But the idea of demonstrating the military might of America really was made fun of in international news too.
Yeah,
It's such a sad display.
it was such a sad display. I mean, the bits and pieces that leaked out and the empty bleachers, just,
How about the shot of Trump almost asleep in the stands?
yeah.
Or maybe he was asleep. I don't know. His eyes were definitely at half mast, if not closed fully.
You wonder what is keeping that guy going. I mean, well, I guess he must have a lot of downtime. I heard I think maybe we talked about this, how some people are saying that his schedule looks more like a vice presidential schedule.
That's interesting. I
So-
haven't seen that one run across my feed.
Yeah, it's like they give him all these kind of, you know, PR type event things that aren't really substantial. So who's running the country?
There was an interesting video clip of him getting out of a golf cart, which in itself is not interesting. But as he got out of the golf cart, he did this real staggering kind of step, you know, and makes me curious about whether or not this guy's going to finish his 4 years.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see how long he's going to last in there, because physically he does look diminished. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Well, people hit the streets protesting in New York City, huge crowds that I saw in my local march.
Philadelphia also, massive crowd. I don't know if you caught the speech that Reverend William Barber made at the Philadelphia No Kings protest, but it was really powerful. You should perhaps get that on YouTube if you can.
I will look for that. Maybe I can.
Oh, Anna said she posted it on our Facebook. I mean, Valentine.
Valentine. She's going underground. Valentine, stay underground. Yeah, it looks like we've just been joined by Craig.
Excellent.
I don't know if he hears us or not, but here's some of the. Hello, Craig. Eddie and I are here. Roy and
Welcome
Eddie
to the
here.
crew.
All right.
We have 11
Good to be
more
with
minutes. This is some of the just misinformation. I saw this come through my newsfeed that said 4 million people marched total in 2,000 cities. And I don't know who this person is. It just came across my newsfeed, and then they were showing that No Kings human sign they made in San Francisco on the beach. And then I saw other people saying that there were many, many more. And this is maybe a more reliable source. It's the Alt National Park Service, and if you don't follow them on Instagram or Facebook, wherever they have their stuff out, they're very interesting. But they were saying the final count, we're honored to announce a final count of 13.14 million in attendance across the 2,300 No Kings protests nationwide. So they're estimating much higher numbers.
I've heard everything between 4 and 7 at this point, but I hadn't seen this one.
This is an interesting statistic.
Heather Cox Richardson just said it was 2% of the United States population.
Okay. Well, that's the magic number everyone is looking for, I believe, is 3.5%. Maybe you've heard this little thing going around about a nonviolent protests can have an effect and change things if they reach up to 3.5%. And here it is, a study from a Harvard University political scientist presents a statistic worth remembering that around the world, once 3.5% of the population became engaged in sustained and nonviolent campaigns of resistance, change has always happened.
Rock on. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Let's do it. So we've got to keep the pressure on, and we've got to bring more people out.
That's basically what William Barber said about the entire situation that we have, is that people need to stand up, and that people who are standing up need to go shake the blankets and get other people out, and including people that didn't vote. He
Right.
said I believe he said if we could get 20% of the people who didn't vote to re-engage and believe that who they elect makes a difference in their lives, that the entire equation would be changed, possibly forever.
Mhm. Well, that's
Earth Day protest of 20 million people.
Did you hear that in the background?
Something about 20 million people at what protest?
The mid-1970s Earth Day.
Ah.
well, we can. That's a great target to shoot for.
Yeah, 20 million would be fabulous.
If it happened before, it certainly can happen again. Look at the momentum.
That first women's march in San Francisco, I think San Francisco hit some ridiculous number, like 100,000 or 150,000. It was massive. I don't know if you guys remember that or if you were there.
No, I wasn't there.
We got invited up to do for the Guinness Book of Records, the world's biggest human chrysanthemum. Lotus, okay, excuse me. We were all given a particular color of bag to wear, and then they shot it with a drone, and the thing was drawn out on the ground, and everybody went to their section and became part of the color of the flower, like this.
Like this event, yeah. Yeah, I do know what you're talking about. I think we might have been at that event too, unless they did it another time. I don't know if we met you there or not, but I remember doing that. Well, I love these creative expressions of resistance like this. This is really fun and takes a lot of organization, but I think the payoff is seeing all the people, but we needed more around the edges, you know.
Mhm.
But it's still a real tangible way to broadcast out a very immediate message.
And the other thing it really symbolizes is the importance of momentum. And I was listening to a recent historical podcast about the nature of fascism and authoritarian rule, and both are momentum based. And as soon as you are able to take away and detract from the movement's momentum, then people begin to see the fallacy of the argument that the movement is based upon. So history shows us that where momentum in a fascist or authoritarian movement starts to slow or wane, then people look back and say, "Wow, there are things that they promised or talked about or warned us about or made us fearful of really haven't materialized," and they see the fallacy of the movement's argument. So this concept of momentum becomes very important as our side grows momentum and we increase these protests and it becomes 3.5% and then maybe 5% of the population, then it becomes that more obvious the fallacies and the irrational nature of the movements, the Trump MAGA movement position. It's unsustainable, unrealizable for the worsening of everybody. And then finally people can begin to see the real nature of the beast.
We kind of already are seeing that, because there's been many videos of people who voted for Trump talking about this isn't what we voted for.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so encouraging. And then, people can start stringing together or threading together into some form of a very crude, primitive necklace, all the things he promised, except for, the sadistic deportation efforts. He has done nothing, accomplished nothing that he talked about. So the economy is worsened, the tariffs don't work, trade agreements don't work. All of the things that he's put forth or promised, except for the one, haven't materialized. And as soon as people begin to thread all that together, it's done.
It feels like it's imploding already, but
Yeah.
maybe that's just my particular lens that I'm seeing this whole thing through. But
If you look at recent pictures of him, you can tell that he's walking around pissed off and dejected most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, not a happy guy, and he's being cornered by people. But he's still selling this ridiculous stuff, a flag pickleball paddle for $180. Yep, I went onto the Trump website, guys. I'm sorry, I had to.
I'm really wondering who's gonna subscribe to the Trump smartphone.
Yeah.
I put
And that's
these up.
filled with lies, right? That it's made in America. No, those are all imported parts. They're tariff-based, and maybe it's being assembled, or certain parts are being manufactured here. But to call it an American Liberty phone is ridiculous. I wonder, does it say MAGA on the flip side of that paddle?
I have no idea.
Or maybe it just has a Russian flag, so
$16 ping pong balls. That seems kind of like expensive.
I'm glad you ventured into this.
Good
$36
God.
for some dangle earrings. Come on.
Wow.
Man, this is like direct to landfill kind of garbage, isn't it? Jeez.
All made in China, too.
Remember when we used to get to go to Istanbul and see all the Russian trinkets that after the fall that
Yeah.
you could buy? And there's a lot that I wish I would have gotten at the time, because they might be some cash now. I don't know if those would ever be worth what they're selling them for.
I hope there's never nostalgia for this time going back. Oh, maybe. You never know. The thing, I don't know if I put a thing up here. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Israeli-Iran thing that's going on in this war, and how Trump is, it just seems to me it's a wag the dog kind of thing, where he's trying to latch on to the, the battle and make a stir about it to kind of distract people from what's going on here at home in a way.
Heather Cox Richardson had a very interesting take on it this morning. Saying that, again, it's a way to, because of what Craig just said about how he's failing across all of his issues, and it's a way to put his name back in the news up front, because everybody's waiting with bated breath as to whether or not he will do this. But it's also creating huge rifts in the MAGA crew, because there's a boatload of people that are totally against getting into another war. But again, also pointed out I can't remember, it might have been Brian Tyler Cohen, that people are calling it Bush 2.0, where everything's going wrong, so you get an award to distract, right?
Right.
And make yourself feel like you're accomplishing something big.
Yeah, not even smart enough. If you're going to go back and use an old campaign, be more creative than going after weapons of mass destruction. Didn't work once, likely won't work a second time.
Right. They did have on the program, they had clips of Bush talking about, well, Iraq ordered huge aluminum tubes that could be used in processing nuclear materials. I'm like, yeah, okay. What else could they be used for? Anyway.
Well, it seems like presidents are using this technique more and more, this wag the dog technique. That's what I kind of liken it to. They created international distraction. In this case, it was sort of there already for him to latch onto. To distract, to, I don't know what, to refocus his power in some way? Is that what he's trying to do?
In the initial bombings, they were denying that they were part of it. And recently, he's been saying, he's been using the term "we" in relationship to what's going on with Israel.
Like we, like he is involved in some way, like we're with Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all dangerous. Dangerous talk. He's playing a dangerous. Didn't he warn Zelensky about if you're not careful, you're going to start a third world war? He should talk to himself. Hey, thank you for being here, guys, and taking this time out of your week to discuss what's happening on our fair planet. Thank you so much, Eddie, and thank you, Craig.
Yeah, my apologies for arriving late. Great conversation. Thank you.
All right, take care, guys. Have a great day. Goodbye. Thanks
Have a
for
great
everyone
weekend.
listening. You too.